What's up, everybody? If you want to join the greatest online Star Wars community, the Fandom Menace, make sure you hit that subscribe button before today's video starts, so you don't miss out on any updates and you're always the first to know when our newest videos go live.
The following is a world-class Bullshitters exclusive.
Art is an intrinsic part of society. Some of man's greatest achievements take form in the arts. The Sistine Chapel, David, the Mona Lisa, all works you know by name. Some would argue art is man's greatest achievement because it shapes culture and defines society. Each group has their own creations, their own myths. The greats transcend their beginnings and become the great myth of man. In the modern era, there is no greater myth than Star Wars. It's been nearly 50 years and we're still enamored with Star Wars. Few things have had the cultural impact that trilogy has had. It goes beyond film. Star Wars is a part of culture. Our traditions and myths are based on Star Wars. Everyone knows Luke Skywalker's journey to become a Jedi Knight. He's as ubiquitous as Batman. People treat the Force as a religion. Star Wars has truly taken hold. Just like all traditions, religions, and folklore, Star Wars was passed on from generation to generation. From those who saw it on day one, to the new audience, or for someone sadly experiencing it one last time, Star Wars is important. So that's why it's the perfect film series to share with your family over a holiday.
Here's the planet-sized news.
Tell me.
Star Wars movies will be playing all week long on Cartoon Network. We've got The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, Rogue One, A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi.
That's good news.
So parents, hit the cantina, kick up your feet, and come hang out with your kids. It's a week of Star Wars movies. It all starts with Rogue One, Sunday, September 5th at 6 on your Cartoon Network.
I know I own them on tape, DVD, Blu-ray, and I'm looking for 4K 77, but I'm pretty excited for a week of Star Wars films. As stated earlier, important isn't a strong enough word to describe Star Wars' place in history. Some, me, would argue it's the most important film of all time, outpacing such classics as Gone with the Wind, Citizen Kane, and The Wizard of Oz. Those films are films of yesteryear that are very much a product of the past. Star Wars feels like it could be going on right now. Star Wars was able to tap into our collective conscience and stay there. It never had a chance to become dated, and the commercial for this film marathon speaks to that. Speaking of the commercial, you notice what's missing? You don't? Let's take another look at the trailer.
We've got The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, Rogue One, A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi.
Now, math wasn't my favorite part of school, but I'm pretty sure there are more than 7 Star Wars films. Quite a few more. In 2005, there was a sense of finality with Star Wars. We knew how Anakin became Darth Vader. The saga was over. Star Wars was done. That's why in 2015, we were all caught off guard by the cultural abortion known as Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. It's been almost 6 years since Disney shit the bed with The Force Awakens. Upon release, people were in love with that film. That's okay. People like Applebee's. Eating good in the neighborhood. Not in this neighborhood, pal. You want a real Star Wars film? You're gonna pay for it. Luckily, fans wouldn't have to wait long. In 2017, the follow-up to The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, was released, and well, let's just say it wasn't well received. Thankfully, Lucasfilm fixed it by... Nope, I'm not even going to humor the joke long enough. They shit the bed again. Their absence from Star Wars Week is more important than one might realize. Ask yourself, what is the point of this marathon? To sell ad space. Beyond that point, putting these films on Cartoon Network serves a purpose. To introduce the Star Wars saga to the next generation. Minus the sequel trilogy, because no child should be subjected to that. In many ways, Star Wars is a modern fairy tale, and fairy tales are very important. Fairy tales are essential stories for childhood. These stories are more than just happily ever afters. They portray real moral messages through character and virtues shown in the stories. They not only captivate the imagination of young minds, but also enhance their creativity and reasoning skills. That description could be written about Star Wars quite easily. Luke Skywalker's journey teaches us many moral lessons, and his virtue is valuable to the audience, young or old. Society seems to think there's only one way to teach through entertainment, and that's indoctrination. For years, we've been sold just that. Our entertainment reeks of one-sided ideals wrapped in corporately approved messaging. Continuing Star Wars was pointless. The Force Awakens undoes a happily ever after established by Return of the Jedi and sets up a series of unanswered questions that were disappointing long before they were ultimately abandoned. It was useless to try to drudge up a story out of the ashes of the greatest ending in cinematic history. Sorry, Endgame, you were good, but you're not Return of the Jedi. Legendary. Return of the Jedi versus Endgame. Debate down in the comments. I'll be watching. What's most important to me is how differently Star Wars is discussed since the Disney acquisition. Before Disney bought Lucasfilm, Star Wars was talked about like this: how Star Wars changed the world. It's been more than 30 years since Star Wars first exploded into theaters, but the sci-fi swashbuckling films from director George Lucas have left a legacy no other blockbuster has surpassed. The cultural influence of the 6 Star Wars films, plus the novels, comics, television shows, games, toys, spoofs, and documentaries linked with Star Wars, is such that, in 2001, the United Kingdom census shows some 390,000 people stated their religion is Jedi, making it the 4th largest religion surveyed. Just last month, members of the performance art group Improv Everywhere filmed themselves reenacting Princess Leia's capture by Darth Vader on the New York subway, and the automotive navigation system company TomTom recently made Star Wars voice an option in their GPS device. Star Wars also has more subtle influences on Hollywood. It pioneered the modern special effects blockbuster as well as the modern movie trilogy, leading the way for Lord of the Rings and The Matrix among others. It also showed that merchandising can make even more money than the movies do. In the year Return of the Jedi first came out, Star Wars unexpectedly became drafted into high-tech controversy in a real land different kind of war: the Cold War. The Strategic Defense Initiative, created by Ronald Reagan in 1983, aimed to use a ground-to-space laser missile system and other weapons to help protect the United States from attacks by nuclear missiles. Critics derisively referred to it as Star Wars. Reagan himself may have drawn upon Star Wars for inspiration when he dubbed the Soviet Union the Evil Empire, echoing the use of Evil Galactic Empire in the opening crawl from the first film 6 years earlier. Weapons and robots from Star Wars are making their way into real life as well. A Hong Kong company recently made an ultra-powerful handheld laser that looks like a lightsaber. Walking robots resembling a giant AT-AT, as the Imperial forces used to attack, are being developed for the military, to carry equipment and go where conventional vehicles can't. Even the Death Star is beginning to appear, albeit in a far miniaturized form. At this year's Technology, Entertainment, and Design Conference in February, a former chief technology officer for Microsoft demonstrated a Death Star bug zapper designed to use lasers to shoot down mosquitoes in flight. The hope there is not to crush microscopic rebels, but to help prevent malaria. That means if all goes well, a future influenced by Star Wars could go on to save millions of lives. May the Force be with it. What an uplifting push towards an amazing tomorrow. Now let's compare that with how Star Wars is talked about today. Star Wars: The Rise of Inclusion. The Star Wars Saga, created and produced by George Lucas, is known as a trailblazer of film and cinema. As one of the most successful movie franchises of all time, the movies are known for being groundbreaking in a way that film is produced, with the original trilogy using astounding technological effects that were the first of their kind, followed by the follow-up prequel movies made in the early 2000s that showcased the broadened use of CGI for both of his characters and movie settings alike. Throughout all of the movies, however, Star Wars' new trend-setting theme is much more important than the previous accomplishments of George Lucas and is centered around the word that is becoming highly demanded across the nation's ideological landscape. In a simple term, with elementary concepts, but it's still searched for in today's society. That word is equality. Throughout the latest Star Wars trilogy, considered the sequels to the original trilogy in the Star Wars Saga, it is clear that emphasis has been put on creating a more diverse universe in regards to characters and their race, gender, or sexuality. For instance, the main protagonist in the new Star Wars trilogy played by Daisy Ridley, a British actress. This marks the first time a fierce, powerful Jedi would be portrayed by a woman. This shows support and morale from Disney to its fans and the rest of the globe regarding gender roles, because of all the previous main Jedi from the original and prequel trilogies were casted as men, and the women were portrayed to be more delicate roles and were always involved because of love interest exclusively. I mean, that's factually incorrect, but this only comes from an educational.edu website, but I digress. Daisy Ridley's character Rey is the first example of Star Wars and its newfound ethics and morality, which has since influenced the movie industry dramatically. More and more women have been awarded incredible roles in movies, are still capitalizing on Star Wars trend-setting moves today. Instances of Star Wars' enhanced insight into social justice and equality is thoroughly embedded in the recent trilogy, and not just because of Daisy Ridley, though. In fact, it can be said a majority of the main protagonists in the movie, including Rey, are women or people of color, improving dramatically since the release of the last Star Wars movie, which was released in 2005. For instance, the posse of protagonists with the latest Star Wars movie, Rey, Poe, Finn, Leia, Luke, and Rose, out of those 5 characters, the majority of them are women, and 2 of them are people of color. Other characters such as Zori, Janna, Maz Kanata, and Captain Phasma are all significant characters who are all women, with 2 of them being people of color. Star Wars did not only support the idea of equality, showcasing women and colored actors in their movies, as they showed the support for gay rights and equality. The 2 male characters, Finn and Poe, were both announced as gay by Star Wars director J.J. Abrams. This would make... Wait, hold on a second. Did that actually happen? Because this comes from St. John Fisher College. this might be just bullshit lies and college text. This would make 5 out of 6 major protagonist characters either people of color, women, or gay, with Luke Skywalker being the only straight white male, which is what Star Wars trilogies consisted of before the new additional movies. Star Wars has clearly bettered themselves as a brand and a franchise by including women, people of color, and LGBTQ community members in their movies in order to make the Star Wars community more inclusive and acceptable through the newest trilogy. As the final scene from the last movie produced, The Rise of Skywalker, is played, one theme is common, and that theme is love and equality. Wrong! The protagonists defeat evil together, and colored people, women, and LGBTQ members of all celebrate together under one cause and one belief, setting a standard for both cinema and society for the future and beyond. Oh, Buzz Lightyear would be proud of that ending. I'm so glad that this is what you get out of modern Star Wars. It used to be that a film, a pure piece of entertainment, could inspire you and actually do good. These new films are manufactured with all this extraneous shit in mind from the get-go, and all we get is a corporate hodgepodge of uninteresting crap labeled Star Wars. TM. This push for diversity through Star Wars ultimately killed it. Here's the box office for each subsequent Star Wars film, and here's a visual aid for emphasis. In terms of cultural relevance, the sequel trilogy has none. It's remembered for being bad, and now, when it's time to introduce Star Wars to the next generation, the sequel trilogy is magically nowhere to be found. Rogue One, another Disney Star Wars film, is there, but not The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, or The Rise of Skywalker. Good. Spare the children. It's been rumored that the sequel trilogy is going to be remade. We never reported that here on this channel, but I did say Lucasfilm would just quietly forget these movies, and the marathon proves just that. Goodbye, sequel trilogy. Now make like a tree and get out of here.